Welcome back to another episode here on the Hart and Hustle podcast. Our next guest says to me, I used to think comfort was the goal. Then I was laid off, caring for my dying mother-in-law and changing diapers in my living room. That's when I realized this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, listen, tell us a story. Is it Kreisler?
Chrysler, like the car.
Kreisler. See, I was going to say it right,
Chrysler.
but I had a butcher because we were talking about names the whole time.
I get it a lot. All is good.
Congratulations. So talk to me, man. Like this, you spent 20 plus years, I'm not mistaken, in software and development.
Yes.
Life was lifing. You had a huge change within the last year and a half of of what you were doing that got you
Yeah.
very uncomfortable, and you called yourself a corporate slave actually for 20 years. What was that exact moment that shook you out of that comfort?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Efrain, I did 20 years corporate. I knew what I was doing. I was comfortable doing it. It was safe. I'm probably maybe a risk adverse person, you know? All I knew, it paid well, right? It kept the bills, paid the bills. But yeah, and then in during COVID, when I met my mother-in-law, let me like take it back a little bit. That was probably now 8 or 9 years ago. She was already homebound, so she was sick. She couldn't leave the house. That's essentially what it means, right? Health-wise, she just was always in pain. And so she had a private caregiver with her at all times. My wife and I lived more than 30 minutes away. And then COVID hit. You can imagine that crazy time. Everyone, there's a lot of trauma there, right? I won't open it too much. But her caregiver gave us 24-hour notice and said, I'm quitting, I'm leaving. You guys figure it out yourself how you take care of your mom, right? And remember, this is a woman who's late 60s, can't leave the house, needs a lot of help. And so my wife and I figured it out and we took care of her. And we became her caregiver for about 2.5 years, 3 years before she passed in the home. But one of the things she always, when I met her, she didn't like what I did was she's a person of high faith, really believes people should help people and the world. She felt what I did building software, I mean, to help people, but not in her way, you know what I mean, of really legitimately helping someone, right, in their lives. And so she always reminded me every month, like, I don't like what my son-in-law does. I get it pays, but if you could make a living helping others, that would be best. I would like that. So she passed away. We just actually celebrated, I'm looking at the calendar, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 years. She passed away abruptly in the home. And then a few months later, I got laid off from my corporate job, doing 20 years. And that hit me. That hit me hard. And really, I thought about her words about, how to live a purposeful life, how to help others. And initially, I thought I was going to go back to corporate. That's all I know. Remember, comfort.
Hmm.
But what I ended up thinking was, how I became her caregiver the last 3 years of her life. And so that's where I started a home care agency called Right at Home here in Long Beach, California, really helping others in the home,
Wow.
just like my mother-in-law.
What,
Yeah.
what was some of the, you were forced out. Some people would have
Yes.
taken the risk before, right? So
Yeah.
the emotions are probably even a little bit more scarier. Like what is next, right?
Yeah.
Why me? You're probably asking yourselves all these things like the why me? What's next? All this. You really had to survive that whiplash. One week you're in software, the next week you're giving hands-on care. You're learning like those moments that you were helping your mother-in-law. You were truly learning for what was next in your journey. You didn't even know was happening.
Mhm.
A lot of
Mhm.
times we're in these spaces where is the unknown. You talked about being comfortable. Life was challenging you to be uncomfortable. You didn't even know it. And now I'm more uncomfortable than ever. What are your feelings like today, man?
Yeah.
Are you still feeling nervous? Are you excited? Like, what are those feelings today?
Yeah. I mean, I've been open for about a little over a year now, right? The home care agency.
Mm.
And to your point, I have my days just like anyone else where I think, what am I doing? Like I'm learning, I'm helping, it's meaningful. I think someone told me, hey, look, purpose doesn't keep the bills up, keep the lights on too, right? You still
Hmm.
need to be able to sustain yourself and the business and your caregivers and your staff and all that stuff. So, I have my moments of frustrations and nervousness of learning new things, learning the business. Learning the healthcare system. Remember, I was in corporate. This is completely different.
Yeah.
Very local business, right? Like very, hey, 15 square miles. This is kind of my area, right, that I operate in. Learning sales and marketing, those are all things that I'm learning by and keeping myself uncomfortable, right? Like even this podcast, when you invited me, I don't do this often, but I do. You talked about your mission and sharing the stories of others and really helping others, and I was like, oh, this is it's not about me, it's not about my ego, about my nervousness. It's about sharing my story so I can help others as well. So, yeah,
And there's so many people, man, that want to be entrepreneurs
yeah,
until they realize what entrepreneurship actually takes. And you actually, I remember you kind of in awe as I told you my story. Like, wow,
yes,
you've
yes,
been having the hustle. I'm just getting
yes,
started, and just getting started respectfully so,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You're over a year in, you're loving it. There's still a smile on your face. Clearly, you're enjoying it.
yeah.
What are some of the things that you've learned from entrepreneurship that can be taught? A lot of people, I think that when we talk about entrepreneurship, you only learn it by doing it. No one can teach you this. No one can prepare you for this. There's a lot of people that want to do what you want to do, man. They want to open up this at-home care center. They want to get into this space of giving back.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're just very nervous. They're scared. Any words of encouragement for those people?
Okay, first of all, just accepting you're never going to be ready. Like
Yes.
I think other people told me that, right? But I'm like, no, no, I think I'm ready. Mentally, financially, I think I'm ready. But when you're in it, it's very different, and there's never a perfect time because that's what people always say, right? Like I was forced into it, like you said, Efrain, but there's never a perfect time. You just kind of commit, right? Obviously, you have responsibilities. You want to honor those
Mhm.
responsibilities as a person, but you're like, just jump in. That's what I did, and you'll figure it out because everyone, from what I can tell, does, right? Whatever how it looks, and I think just keeping. I think I spoke with an entrepreneur friend who's been doing it for 20 years, right? When he first came out of college, and he's been kind of coaching me through things. Um, and he said, "It's hard, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's hard," And he said, "Well, you know what? You're showing up every day with your hard hat. Just show up every day.
Yeah.
That's it. Just show up every day,"
Show up
he
every
said.
day.
He should show up every day. And you're that's what it is, right? And that's how I see it. And I think yeah, and I think that's a lot of success, right? Is showing up every day. It's not being quote unquote smarter than the other person or anything like that. It's just putting yourself out there and putting the effort in every day, no matter how hard it is.
Anytime that someone ask me the question like, "How do you do it?" I say
Yeah.
you got to stay consistent. Like consistency wins. Like there's going to be times you want to give up. If you don't think that, we just kind of had a story, prior that would hopping on here. There's been
Yeah.
many a times of those moments where I ask myself, why don't I just go to a 9 to 5 where I can just clock in and clock out and have to not worry about it? But there's also a time in my life where I said, why am I stressing over somebody else's problems when I can stress over my own? And in reality, you're stressing over your own problems. You can control everything, right? And maybe not right now the way you want to. You have to play every single part of your business, wear
Hmm.
multiple different hats. But what happens is that when you get someone now on board, that you actually have an idea of what marketing looks like, that you have an idea of what a leader looks like and what this person should be doing. So now you have an expectation. If you can do it as good as me or better, then it's a win. If you can't do it better than me and I don't even know this world, then you're not part of the team, right? Like that's just what it looks like, man. So it is you're learning so much, man, and it is fun. It's fun and it's challenging, and there's times you want to give up, and there's times like you're
Yeah.
asking you probably yourself like, why did I even do this? Why, who told me to do this?
I think I asked you that too, right? Or like you said, you've been hustling for over 20 years, and I'm like, I just started. I'm learning, and I'm used to, like anyone thinking, I'm used to that every 2 week paycheck, and I've had to adjust, right? Like as someone says, you're paying to go to work right now. I'm like, yep, I'm paying to go to work right now because I believe in that long term vision. So,
Yeah. Listen, it's been 3 years. What do you hope she'd say if she saw you and what you built now? Your mother-in-law.
oh, that's a really good question, man. Um, What do I think she would say?
Yeah. What would you say with what you've been able to build? You
Yeah,
took her
yeah,
advice. You went out
yeah,
and now you're in a space of helping people.
yeah, yeah. No, she'd be happy, right? She'd be happy, you know. Yeah, that's all I could say. I think
She would
she'd
say, probably like, you finally did it. You took my advice. You should have done it sooner. You said 13 years. You should have done it 13 years ago. Like, what are you waiting?
yeah, yeah, but no, no, she'd be happy, right? Like my wife is in healthcare too, so and she kind of navigated my wife toward that, and you know she
I love it.
and
No, I
and
love
and
it, man.
so no, I think it's anything, right? Helping others, not just healthcare, right? But yeah, no, she I think she'd be happy with so far kind of what I've done.
Now, as an entrepreneur, there's
Hmm.
sometimes there's no steady paycheck. Your caregivers could be underpaid. Families could be underinsured. How do you keep going when the math is not even mathing? It doesn't always
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah. So it's I I always try no matter what, and I've trained my staff this too. I said, look, I mean, the reality is in my space, home care, you have to be poverty to get some sort of assistance. Like insurance companies don't cover it. You know, most of them don't. It's mostly out of pocket. Um, and so you can imagine I get calls every day, and I've trained my staff of like, even if we can't help them, like, you know, they can't afford it, they've said it, give them resources, right? I say, hey, these are the resource list. Ask them to ask for their social worker and XYZ or case manager, or hey, check out this nonprofit. They might be able to help you. So even though we can't help them personally, like when you say the math isn't mathing, right? Like I can't,
Hmm.
I gotta pay my caregivers, you know, living wages as well. Uh, we go, okay, well, these are these other resources in our community that could potentially help you, or some options for you. So that's how we help people when we can't either financially make it work, right? And we always try to work with families. Some families also think that they need a lot of care,
Hmm.
and the reality is you don't need 24/7 care or 12 hours a day or something like that. We can make it work with families where you just do a few hours a day, if that, or even 2 or 3 times a week.
You said something very interesting the first time that we met. I want you to kind of tap
Hmm.
into this. So,
Yeah,
when we talk about families, there's still a misunderstanding about the real cost of long-term care,
yeah,
and what it and can we talk about what do you wish they knew before it became this crisis or becomes this crisis? Because I remember one time
yeah,
you saying, "I don't want people like in reality, I'm in this business, but I don't want you to come call me."
yeah,
Right? Like there's
yeah,
so much
yeah,
there to kind of break down, man. Like, and I just
yeah,
love you become the resource, teaching people what they don't know, even when you can't help them. But you're
yeah,
also trying to help people before they even get to this space in their lives. But people are
yeah,
having a misunderstanding, man. Could you kind of clarify that
yeah,
for us?
yeah. No, that's a very good question. So the first thing I said was, you know, a lot of people assume insurance covers home care. So meaning when I say home care, meaning caregivers, meaning it's not medical, but it's all the things for your audience that we all take for granted when we're younger, whether it's
Hmm.
feeding yourself, getting out of bed, bathing yourself, right? Going to the store. Those things all my caregivers specialize in, right? And so everyone assumes insurance covers everything, right? Whether you have
Hmm.
Medicare or Medicaid, it's going to cover this. It does not cover this. They only cover medical things, right? Enough to keep you alive. But as we know, you need to do those things
Hmm.
to stay alive. Now, the reality is most people will have family members as caregivers, like I did with my mother-in-law, right? As long as with my wife. Um, but then people don't consider that, so they don't save for that. And so what I mean by don't use my services is when we're young, Efrain, we need to take care of ourselves. Like make it a
Hmm.
lifestyle into eating right, working out, sleeping. You don't need some crazy diet or anything, right? Everyone knows what they should be doing. We just don't do it, right?
Correct.
And so we don't realize that. But when you're at 70, 80, and you know your chronic conditions are building up or you didn't take care of yourself, you're going to need a lot of care. And a lot of people go, oh, well, Medicare will just cover it. I'm like, if you got no family taking care of you, right? Like any
Hmm.
of that or friends, it's going to be hard. It's hard,
Yeah.
right? And as you know, the aging population, silver tsunami, right? Everyone, there's like 11,000 people retiring every day in America over 65. we're living longer, and the reality is it's going to be, to me at least, less and less resources, at least financially, right?
Yeah.
To cover it. So what can you do? What's in your control? Yourself, your lifestyle.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the podcast, we first want to say thank you. And we also just want to give you a little insight of what we're up to at Francis. Some don't even realize that we're working with organizations to help them use AI to create that real human communication experiences, whether that's actually supporting your families, those patients, or the entire community. We're actually creating tech that connects. Check it out, francis.ai. Yeah, man. Health is the best wealth, as your mother-in-law would say, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she always said it's not a real problem unless it's your health, right? Because no matter how much money you have, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even though you're in this space of getting uncomfortable, you continue to get uncomfortable because you even went on as far as going on YouTube. So even though you say you don't do this often, you went on to
Yeah.
something that a lot of people won't do: get in front of a camera to share resources, to tell your story public, the mess, the fear, the finances. What made
Yeah.
you want to tell
Yeah.
the truth when most people fake success?
I I think as much as I help people, it's also challenging me, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
Efrain. Like
Yeah.
going on this podcast, even talking to you, or having my YouTube channel, or posting on social media. Every People who know me closely, and not many, like I'm an introvert. I don't. I'm fairly private. But stuff like this, doesn't get talked about, And if I may, Efrain, I'm gonna change it a little bit slightly,
Go ahead.
right?
Yeah.
I think maybe you and I talked about it at one point. I'm like, even in Western society, we don't talk about death, right? And I was like, everyone goes, "Oh, that's really morbid." I could see some people
Yeah.
listening going, "Oh, that's where are we going with this, right?" Efrain, why'd you invite this guy? But it's reality. It is
There's-
here, and we should obviously we all want to live longer, all that good stuff, and have a good quality of life. But I'm like, that's reality, so we should talk openly about it, right?
Mhm.
And sharing on things like that. Not that I talk about death all the time, but I'm like, yeah, people should plan. I see it every day.
Mhm.
Families are struggling with, oh, we didn't have a plan, or this happened, or mom didn't set something aside, so we don't know what to do, right? She's stuck in the hospital and she can't talk,
Mhm.
you know? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
And to what you were just saying, and I say this sometimes when I'm in the space of at home care or just speaking about death,
yeah,
is that I think last year my mom, she's like, "Hey, I would love to have all my kids together. Let's play
mm,
bingo, and I have something to tell you guys."
okay,
What?
okay,
Like, sounds a little
okay,
scary. Sounds a little
yeah,
scary.
yeah,
But no, we get there, and she's like, "Hey, I just want you guys to know that I've been preparing.
mm,
I have
mm,
everything that I want already written. I already have who's going to be my voice, even though
mm,
this is what I
mm.
want. Like you mentioned, if I can't talk, who's going to make sure this is what I want? I
Yeah,
don't want you guys to
yeah,
fight over it, to think about it. I already have
yes,
everything written for you guys. All I need
yeah,
you guys is to make sure this plan goes exactly how I planned it, so that no one is worrying about who should take care of me. No one's worrying about what did she want. And it was very
yeah,
scary. But then I do see why that matters, because I've also seen the opposite side where people now get into their mom and dad's passing away. Now everyone's talking about money. Now everyone's talking about who's going to do this. Now everyone's
yeah,
talking about that.
yeah,
Now
yep,
the family starts to break up because the plan was never in place. So my
yeah,
mom has done her best. There's seven of us to make sure that we
okay,
all understand the plans. That when she, the day that she decides or God decides to take her away, from us, that
hmm
the plan's already there. We didn't have to worry about it and stress just a little bit less now because she thought about the future. So I hear you, man. It's a very scary conversation as
it's
a young as
scary,
her child.
right?
I didn't want to hear it,
Yeah,
but I
you don't
hear
want to
I
hear it,
get it.
right?
I
Like
get it.
you're like, I don't, and you have a tear like, mom, you're gonna live for a long time, right? Let's not talk about it. And I'm the same way. I think it's a human, this person you love, right? It's your
Yeah.
mom, so of course. But
Hmm.
it's out of love, right? What your
Yeah.
mom's doing is out of love, right? It's like it's because I love all my kids, and so I don't want anyone
Yeah.
worried about it, right? And you don't need a ton of money. That's the other thing. Some people go,
Hmm.
"Oh, I need a ton of money to plan." I'm like, it's not about that. right? It's about
Yeah.
having a plan written down and everyone aligns to it. And because yeah, I see a lot of families will argue, kids who
Yep.
argue, right? Different religions, whatever it is, right? Money, and it just tears people up. And you're like, I don't think that's what your mother envisioned.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
I love this, man. I love that we're having this conversation that people normally don't have. And it's funny
yeah.
that you say that you're introvert. I like to say that I'm an introvert as well, believe it or not.
No.
My wife looks at me like, no, there's no way. It's one of those things that I got to feel comfortable. All right. If I feel
Yeah,
comfortable, and of course,
yeah.
because the line of work, I am the person that has to make people feel comfortable. So, but even that is
Yeah.
hard. If you don't think I get on this podcast every day with a little bit of excitement and nervousness, I do. Even though I've
Mm.
done over 100 of these,
Oh,
I'm still
yeah.
excited. I'm still nervous about it. Why? Because I love what I do. But sometimes it is hard to talk to someone and because you don't know what it's going to look like. Are they going to talk back to you? Can they hold the conversation?
Mm,
Right.
mm,
So when I go
mm.
to places, I could either be the life of the party or I'm the guy in the corner trying to be like, please don't talk to me. And once you get me talking, then and it's like you, man. Once you get talking,
Yeah,
it's a
sure,
vibe.
sure.
It's a vibe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you know energy because another thing that you mentioned is that you've hired around energy, not just
Hmm.
skill, which is
Hmm.
so crucial, man. Because especially as you're growing, the energy has to just match. You have to feel at peace. You have to feel like they're a asset to you and not just a hindrance, right?
Yeah,
What does that
yeah.
look like in practice though, when lives are literally on the line?
Yeah, I mean, and I, I'm not gonna, I could get legally in trouble, right? Well, you're hiring based on energy. What does that mean, right? I'm not saying that, but I just, it's like surrounding yourself, right? They're not even talking about employers. Think about your friend group, people you surround yourself with, or professionals. Do they upskill you? Do they challenge you, but they also make you feel good, right? Do they give you confidence, or are they putting you down, right? Or are
Yeah.
they any of that? That's what I mean by energy, right? You can't train for that, but you can pick for that.
Hmm.
Are they making me better? Whether it's a caregiver challenge me on something or my staff, right? Or I'll give a really quick example, a quick story. I had a buddy I've known him since high school. We're not super close, but I've known him enough, and I was actually talking about the business maybe I don't know 6 7 months ago, going through my struggles, just venting a little bit, and it took me back. I haven't talked to him too much since. He kind of went, first words out of his mouth wasn't encouragement or challenging me to do something. He said, "Well, when are you going to quit?" And I was like, "Bro, like what? You get what I mean?"
Yep.
Right? Like he's like, "When are you going to quit?" He asked again, and I was like, "What?" Yeah, I'm complaining a little bit. I fully admit that. That's not healthy if you do that too much. But and I was like, "Do I know you? Do I want to surround myself with someone who just goes, 'Oh yeah, just throw in the towel. Just do that.'"
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by energy, right? Like I don't spend my
Yep.
too much time with him anymore. I don't talk to him about the business anymore because I'm like I don't need that.
It
Yeah,
is very important and important in a place where you're building your foundation. And what you're doing right now is building a foundation that will scale beyond you, right? That will
yeah,
live beyond you. And I think in a space like this where you're so early on, that is the most important thing you can do. Is one is don't
mm,
tell everything that you're going through, right? Or at
yeah,
least don't tell it to certain people. Because
yeah,
myself in this, taking this leap of faith 2 years back and kind of to
yeah.
what you're
Tell
doing
me,
today
yeah,
is I had to s- speak to friends less, friends that I used to speak to probably on a weekly, maybe every other day.
mm, mm,
And because they would say things like, "Oh, how's your small community doing?" "Oh, well, this is happening. So what are you going to do now?" Like it was always like just almost belittling me in a
yeah,
place where my mental was already struggling. I
yeah,
needed to be poured
yeah,
into, not taken away from. And so there's a lot of things that I had to, the music I was listening to, saying
mm,
things out. Like when people don't tell all your business, they
yeah,
say it because so many people could also pray on the opposite of what you're praying for, right? So
mm,
there's certain things that you just don't say, or be
yeah,
mindful of who you say it to. There was only a few people that knew I was doing wrestling because you know what? no one needed to know. Because you know what
Yeah.
I was hearing as I
Yeah.
was doing this? But wrestling's fake. Like, what do you mean you're doing it in your garage? Like, what do you, what? Like, you're 35 years old. You're a grown man.
Yeah.
But I just mentioned to you all these dreams that I've had as a young kid that came to life because I stayed consistent, because
Yeah.
I didn't let the naysayers tell me any differently. I call those same friends now that told me that, and I laugh at them and say, "Remember when you told me wrestling was fake? Remember when you told me that what the hell am I doing because X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
Look what it brought me to." And those same people are still comfortable in the same old cycle, right? That rat race,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So you, man, you breaking that curse. You've definitely, you got uncomfortable. You're staying uncomfortable more than anything. So
Yeah.
listen, I love, we're talking some good stuff here, man. I love that you hire on energy. And when we talk about energy, is that as a leader, we got to make sure that we hire people that, as you mentioned, challenge you, but are smarter than us. We can't be the smartest in the room,
No.
then we're not
No.
growing, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking for people that are more educated than me. I'm looking for people that have more hustle than me, that know more marketing than me. Not because I want to learn from you, but that's what life is about as a leader. You are now in a leadership role, and you want people to do the things that they love. And I think that's what's also, you're kind of in that space, where people hire people that you love. You don't want a yes man. So I
Yeah.
respectfully understand when you say energy, you're not just sitting here looking at, race. You're not looking at sexuality. You're looking at, can they fit the need that my company needs at the moment?
Yep.
So I love that,
Yep.
man. I love that. We're having a good conversation, man. Do you remember your first
Yeah.
task that you actually had to delegate to protect your energy and your mission, actually?
Ooh, first task. Um, yeah, actually, I would say hiring. I know it's weird. We're talking about hiring, right? Like, so when I first started, I hired, she's still with me. She's awesome. And she's kind of I call her a doer of all things. That's literally what her business card says. I mean, officially it's office manager, but she does everything, right? And so as I hired her, the goal was to build up the team, right, of caregivers. So she had to do hiring, like orientation, interviews. So I trained her through all that. And I know I've seen the literature of business leaders of, oh, hiring, the founder always needs to be involved in hiring, and I still am, right? I get final approval. Um, but there's that's the first thing I delegated, right? Was I was like, look, you're aligned with me. You know what needs to happen. I know you enough. Um, and I always tell people, look, we're all make mistakes. And I make mistakes. I made terrible hires before. Like, it's just reality,
Yeah.
right? So as long as I say we only get in trouble when we don't learn from it, same time we get in
Yeah.
trouble. So yeah, so that was the first thing I delegated. I know it sounds crazy to some people probably, but I'm like, no, I delegated hiring to a certain extent to her. Yeah,
Sometimes you got to. Sometimes you
yeah,
got to. Sometimes you may be overlooking great talent. So I love it.
yeah,
And you know what? Back to hiring. It's like dating. You'll go through multiple people before you find the one. I can imagine that who your wife is today, that wasn't always your girlfriend, right? You had to go through a couple of
yeah,
different girlfriends to realize,
right,
oh no, this is the one that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And that's
yeah,
exactly what it looks like for office manager, for a caregiver. You want to find someone that you can spend the rest of your life with, that you would love to see them and their family win. Like, that's what it is all about.
yeah,
So
yeah,
man, this is some good stuff, man. What is the home care
yeah.
industry, you think, or why does the home care industry, you think, need people who don't come from healthcare? Because I think that's also something that you spoke about, and I think it's also really good to talk on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, from a business perspective, depending on the state you're in, but the reality is it's a low barrier entry of business, right? I mean, that's why they have franchises, they have all kinds of home care agencies. Um, but I think so. Number one, it's just from that perspective, from a pragmatic perspective, it's easy to get into. Number two is because we're dealing a lot with non-medical, you don't need to have necessarily a medical background. Obviously, it's better, it's easier, and a lot of home care agencies will hire nurses, right, and things like that to help, of course, as you scale. Um, but I think really, to answer your question around, why is that important? I just think it's just a different lens, right? I will say, and I think some other healthcare professionals have heard me. I know my wife definitely has heard me say it. Coming from the tech world, and I was not a genius in tech, don't mind you, right? I did not work for some crazy startup. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not, but I look at healthcare and I'm like, oh my gosh, the tech they're using is literally 20 years ago, 25. I mean, they still fax. They fax everything, medical
Yeah.
records, blah, blah, blah. The systems don't talk with one another. And so that's why I personally think it's important to have a lot of people from outside the industry because every nurse I talk to, doctor goes, we've been doing this for 30 years. It works.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
like, but you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. It's costly, right?
So saying
And
that,
yeah,
you
yeah,
having a background in software, technology, AI being one of those things that I think healthcare people are also trying to incorporate, at least
yes,
when it comes to that
yes,
one-on-one patient interaction. But there's
yeah,
also so much room to use it on the admin side of things. And I'm a big believer that if you implement this on the back end admin, the repetitive task, you allow people to do more of the things they love and less of the things that they just can't stand. Are you guys in the space of dipping your toes into AI
yeah,
implementing that technology into today's world into the at home care?
yeah. There's definitely a space for that. AI, like I personally have not too much, not yet, because I think I'm fairly new. But as I get more repetitive tasks and I start scaling, my goal is to automate, like you said, the things that no one wants to do, right? Like but it's required. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of documentation in healthcare for good reasons. I understand. Um, but a lot of that can be automated because at the end of the day, what you want to do is spend more time with the patient. But whatever you're doing, if you're, anyone listening can realize, hey, when I go to the doctor's office, they're constantly typing. A lot of them don't even look at me. They're just like typing.
I
They're
agree,
taking
one hundred
notes, right?
percent.
They're documenting, right? They have to. And then da da da, right? Or for insurance reasons, da da da. And they're like, okay, yeah. Now, I know they're already experimenting with AI that is taking notes for you, right? Charting for you, right? For the doctor or for the nurse, and then summarizing it, and it's all digital, and now someone could actually spend more time human to human. Because remember, we're in healthcare. This is about humans,
Yeah.
uh, like just being with one another, right? And just listening. And so I think that's where I think it's headed. There's a lot of the data and repetitiveness, the errors, the costliness of running software in the background. I think it's going to lower a lot, and I think it's going to help a lot as especially people live longer and age, right? As we mentioned earlier, um, with the space because the system's getting
Yeah.
overwhelmed, as we all know. So
No, it's funny that you mentioned. I tell that to anybody that's in the healthcare industry is that I can't stand go
yeah,
to the doctor because it's not like they look at me anyway. They spend 5 minutes with me, never looked at me, probably don't even know what I look like. I could walk out and you go back in like, did that person have glasses on? I don't know because that's truly what it's like, man.
yeah,
When you think
yeah.
about back in the days we had that family doctor that knew the family. Nowadays, man, they don't know anybody. They got to see so many patients within an hour, and then they got to do all these
Yeah.
documentations, and
Yep.
it's an experience. I want to have an experience when I go and see someone that I felt like they cared, because as humans, we want people to care for us the same way
hmm
that we care for others. And if we don't experience that, it's what am
hmm
I going for? Like you're just doing almost like your job. You're just kind of just doing the check
Checking the
mark, check
boxes,
boxes, and
right?
all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little annoying, man. But what you are today, it's a voice for so many. So this next question is for someone who's
hmm
listening, who's stuck in the rat race or in the corporate world, but they're called to
hmm
serve. What's the first move, man, that you think that they should make?
Ooh, first move. I think just kind of laying out why you want to do it is the first thing, because that's going to challenge you. Right? Your why has to be greater than everything else, because you're going to be thinking about, and I'm not advocating, hey, just quit like the next day, right? I'm not going to say, hey, just, even though I said jump in, but jump in with an real clear understanding of, well, why am I doing this? Um, and I'm not saying the why pays the bills, right? But it's going to keep driving you toward that when it's hard, right? When you're like, here I go withdrawing more money, right, to pay for this in the business or whatever it is, right? Or I got to pay rent, kind of thing. But I think that's the first thing I would say is your
Hmm.
first move. And then obviously the really quick second thing is I would say be responsible too, right? Like understand, hey, this is my responsibilities as a person as well, right? Whether it's your family or you got a mortgage or you got kids to take care of, obviously be responsible. But I also know those responsibilities will tend to walk you back into not jumping in, right? So you kind of have to understand that, right? And if you have a spouse or a partner, um, that is key too, right? Like my wife's been amazing in supporting me. She's not stressed. I'm the one that's stressed, right? So,
Oh
but that's
man.
amazing, because as you know, Efrain, right? Like your wife is super
Yeah.
supportive.
Mhm.
Is you need that when in times when when you come home, you're like, it was a rough day today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I shout out to all those significant others really that allow their significant other to chase a dream and sometimes
yeah,
put their own careers on the back burner, right?
yeah.
And your wife is doing it for you. My wife definitely has done it for me. I mean,
Mhm.
I've tried multiple businesses, man. I've from a cafe owner to a furniture and appliance shop to a t-shirt printing to
I
like all
remember
these
you
things.
telling me, yeah, yeah,
It's I'm always thankful for her I'm not gonna lie to you, man. The reason that I knew she was the one, she's
yeah.
seen more in me than I was seeing for myself at the age of 21, 22 years old.
Wow. Yeah,
She's seen
yeah.
who I had the potential to be if I lean more into faith, lean more into God, if I prayed a little bit more, if I
Yeah.
surrounded myself with better people, stop calling everybody a friend. Like when I think about
Mm,
that, that's
mm,
what that's it really allowed me to see past who I was, past all this trauma that I was encountering. And then when she found out the trauma and the baggage, because we all bring baggage into a relationship,
yes. Yes.
that she helped me go through it, man, and realize like, hey, it's gonna be okay. This is who you were, it's not who you are.
Yeah.
Right. So I love it. Shout out to all the
That's
ladies out there. Shout
strong.
out to all the
Yeah,
wives, okay?
yeah,
Wives,
yeah,
husbands,
yeah.
whoever's
All the
making the
partners,
sacrifices.
everything. Yeah, no, no, definitely. Yeah,
I love it, man. Would you do this all over again? If you were never, I'll take this back. If you
yeah.
were still in corporate world, do you think this would have happened? Do you think you would have took the leap of faith, or do you think God did this and you're just and put you in this world for you to figure it out? He's still with you, obviously, on this journey.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on this, man? Would you be here today if it wasn't for the
Yeah.
layoff?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right? It was almost, as I said, when my mother-in-law abruptly passed, I got laid off to, immediately soon after, right? And so, no, I think I said I was a risk-averse person early on in the podcast. And
Yeah.
so I fully admit, it was a forcing function for me. You know what I
What are you
mean? But
glad it happened the way that it did?
yeah, yeah. I mean, there are hard times, right? Even right now, there are hard
Yeah.
times where but I just I look at everything else, and I look at the world, and I look at some of my friends, and we talk, and sometimes I'm more of a negative person. It might not come off that way, right? I know my wife tells me I'm more negative, even my staff sometimes, and I'm always a glass half empty, right? Type of person. Still working on that. That's an improvement area. But some people, I just celebrated 1 year, a little over 1 year being open, and it's sort of like, congratulations. And my immediate reaction sometimes is, for what? And a lot of people, they're like, you took the plunge. I'd be too scared. Or
Yeah.
I think about it all the time for the last how many years? I just never did it,
The
right?
what if?
Or, yeah, what if, right? Or some people go, you know what? A lot of businesses don't even last past a year. And I was like, I don't
Yeah.
realize that. I just don't. People are like, no, seriously. People will throw in the towel a lot earlier than you think. And I was like, okay,
So let's
yeah,
talk about it. You started this with an
yeah,
idea, right?
yeah, yeah,
Just you, your wife,
yeah,
maybe a group of friends. How
yeah.
many caregivers do you have today? How many patients and
Uh,
caregivers?
about 30 caregivers and about almost 15 patients. Yeah.
Come on, man. 30 caregivers that started with just an idea? Like you now have, and it's a lot because that means you have 30 families that also need to be fed, plus your
Yeah,
own. It's a lot,
yeah,
plus all the patients, right? So there is a
yeah,
lot. But you're
yeah,
literally, as everyone mentioned, you're only a year in. There's so
yeah,
much growth in a year. What happens in another year? A year
yeah.
ago, okay, let me tell you, a year ago, I was still trying to figure out what was my lane. I knew what I loved. I left the airline industry and I
Uh-huh.
was betting on myself and I had all these ideas. and I
Yeah.
knew I wanted to do mobile podcasting, all that. And I would, I'm in the coaching space, so trying to find clients there. But then it
Hmm.
also came
Hmm.
towards the same last year, towards the end of the year, end of 2024, where I went to my wife, and I think I mentioned this to you, where I said, I don't have any money. Like, it was a hard conversation to have to my wife with my wife, and I remember saying to her like, "Hey, should I just get a job?" And her saying to me, "God didn't bring you this far to quit." And then a year later, here I am
Yeah.
talking to you. Here I am. I wrote a journal. Here I am talking to like what it looks
Tons
like.
of people. Yeah.
What does it look like here? Today. Look forward, man. Never look back. Continue to move forward when times get tough. And it is easy to just go negative because we're humans. But
Yeah.
what does success look like for you now, man? Man, after seeing what you walked through over a whole year and seeing what life has brought you, what does
Yeah.
success look like for you? Is this success?
Yeah. So I think of it two ways. I'll start with the personal side. On the personal side, I have a young daughter. I think I mentioned to you, Efrain, and young family. And I want to be present for her. I don't I don't want her to feel, even though I'm physically there, that's what a lot of people do, but I'm thinking about work or business or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So that's success to me. One is like being present for my family, uh, particularly for my daughter, right? As she grows up. And then number two on the business side to me is just, I call it the vision, the 3 100s. I'm still playing with the idea in my head, but it's 100 people vouching for me in the community, whether they're in healthcare or a community leader, whatever it is.
Hmm.
It's 100 families I'm impacting or patients, and there's 100 caregivers that I'm impacting or providing work, right?
Okay.
That's how I view it, right? Like I don't need to grow. Some people grow into like a huge empire. I mean, that's fairly big, honestly, but
Yeah.
in home care space, but some people have like few hundred caregivers, right? 500,
Yeah.
600. I'm not looking for that, right? I don't need that. I just want to have a meaningful impact and to be able to go home and be with my family.
Well, you're at 35 caregivers, almost halfway there in a year. So you're definitely going to hit that 100 there. I'm one of those people that's going to vouch for you and what you do. So I'm at least
Appreciate
one
it,
of
man.
100. I can imagine there's so much more. You
Yeah.
got 15, you said patience. So you're a
Yeah.
quarter of a way there. You've made progress because you've never given up and you showed up every single time, even when life is hard. I'll leave you with this blind question, man. I know we're coming up to time.
Yeah.
What part
Yeah.
of caregiving broke you, and how did rebuilding from that moment change how you lead today?
Ooh, what part of caregiving broke me?
Yep.
I, I would say watching someone age, right? Watching my mother-in-law age and anyone, right? Even with families or patients I work with. And then just watching them age, there's suffering, right? Mentally or physically, they're not feeling well. And then actually watching the families go through the emotional ride of that, whether, oh, got checked into the hospital or they just fell and you have anxiety and look, I love the elderly, right? I deal a lot of elderly, but they got some strong opinions. Like even if you're like you fell, you need help. Like no, I don't need help.
Yeah.
It's emotional, right? And they're scared too. That's the other thing. So I
Yeah.
think that's what broke me was working with my mother-in-law and just she was a strong-willed woman, right? And she. I knew we knew what she wanted. She was like, in the end, you probably could save me, and we probably could have, honestly, if we took her to the hospital. But she said, I want to pass in the home. I want to go this way.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it broke me, but it's just really I understand, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
I honor that, right? I honor that, and especially since she was 100% cognitively there. Um, so I don't know if I answered your question, my friend, but
No,
it
you
was
did,
just
man. I appreciate
just
you. No, I
just
appreciate you.
going through that, right? And everyone's going to go through it. Everybody's going to go through it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
listen, man, I appreciate the conversation. We've been talking for some time. I want to respect your time. Where people can find you? What is the website? Are you on LinkedIn? So if people want to reach out.
Yeah, yeah. So on LinkedIn, it's Kreisler Ng, my first name, Kreisler. There's not many Chryslers, Ng, Ng. And then my company is CareInLongBeach.com. So if you search for that, if you search right at home Long Beach, we'll pop up immediately, whether it's a YouTube channel, Instagram, all that. We're on that. So
I love it. Well, Kreisler,
yeah.
thank you so much for your time. For those that are watching, make sure you guys do share, like, subscribe. If you want entrepreneurship tips, this man right here is living it. Okay, he can tell you exactly his day to day. Make sure you guys follow. Are you on YouTube? You didn't tell us YouTube. What is the YouTube?
Oh, I'm on YouTube. Yeah, yeah.
Same name.
It's
What
actually
is it?
yeah, right at home Long Beach. It's gonna pop up. Yeah,
Copy, copy. Guys, make
yeah,
sure you guys go
yeah.
follow. This is Kreisler. My name's Efrain. We'll catch you guys in the next
Appreciate
episode.
it, friend.
Later.
Thank you. Thank you.